So, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Teams Nation. And then we are pretty much excited to present our session on bringing your own data to Microsoft Teams app with Azure OpenAI and LangChain. So, whenever we are developing any of the applications, whether it could be bots or messaging extension in Microsoft Teams, definitely we can add the intelligence flavor of AI into it. And then today we are going to see at least couple of demos in which how we'll be able to go ahead add the AI capabilities into our bots, and then from there, how we'll be able to make those bots intelligent and work for the situation which are kind of in real world. So the first demo will be of using the normal Azure OpenAI, and then the second one will be to go ahead and extend that with LangChain. All right. So before we get started, a quick introduction. Myself, Nanddeep Nachan. I'm from Pune, India. I'm Microsoft MVP as well as Microsoft Certified Trainer, author of books on SharePoint Framework, SharePoint Hybrid, and Viva Connection. And onto the right-hand side, here are a few of my social media handles to get in touch with. And with me today is Smita.
Hello, myself Smita Nachan and greetings from Pune, India. So I'm a Microsoft MVP having 15 plus years of experience in MS365 technology. I'm author of couple of books and these are my some of social handles by which you can just get in touch with me. So with that, now let's see about this Azure OpenAI. So if you don't have access for the Azure OpenAI, it's not a free of cost. So here is the link. By using this link, you have to fill a form and then you will get access to Azure OpenAI. And once you get access to Azure OpenAI, then you can just go to your portal, and from the portal you can just click on a create resource. You can just search for this OpenAI, and then it will walk you to some of the wizard. So once you clicked over here and clicked on the create button, then it will take you some of the wizard that card will, and over here you have to select some of the steps like provide a unique name and then the resource group and all other details like the same like you are doing for any other resource group. The one thing you have to verify over here while selecting the region, because not all these OpenAI models are available with all of every region. So as per that, you can just select the details over here. To save the time, we have already created one. So let's go and open that one where we can just show you some of the details. So this one is we have already created, and over here you can see details for like their location. So the region is already selected as East US, and then some of the endpoints are there, and then managed keys are also there. So all of the details are already available over here. So once you create your resource group, it will look like same, and then you can just go to this Azure OpenAI Studio. And once you clicked over here, then it will take you outside your Azure portal. The link itself is mentioning that oai.azure.com. So over here, first you have to select your business case. As per that, you can just select the modules, and once you are done the selection of that modules, then you can do the deployment. And all of the details over here, whatever this region you have selected, you are able to get the modules as per that. Yeah. So we have already done the deployment for this one because the deployment takes the time. So this is the way how you can do this deployment also. So you have to select your model, and once you select your model, then click on the deploy. So let me go for the deployment whatever we have done. So let me open that one. So this is the place where you can just see all of the deployment we have done, and let me open one of them. Yeah. And then you can just go and open in a playground. So over here, before going into the production, you can just play over here, and then you can just go ahead and you can just take the same thing in your production. So on the left hand side, there are some of the setup settings. The prompt is there. There is a system user message is also there. So you can just system user message, that means nothing but the behavior of the system. And there are some of the templates available. So you can just select the templates also, and in the middle part you can see we can just have the same some of the prompt and the completion you will get over here. We will come over here later. Let's go to the configuration part. So in a configuration you can see the deployment model whatever we have showed you on the screen. So this is the deployment model, and then there are some of the more options available over there like a topi and another option. So whatever we will suggest the parameters, so what are the max response. And there is a help icon also, with that you can just get all of the details, so the temperature and the toppy. So we will suggest that keep the lowest temperature as much as possible and a toppy to get some of the relevant result. Yeah. So once you are done with all of the settings, come to the middle part, and over here let's type like how to make a pizza. So this is the prompt, and let's see what kind of completions we are getting from this Azure OpenAI. And then once we get that, you will see over here all of the details are mentioned. We asked that prompt as a how to make a pizza, and a completion we have got all the details. So there is an option to see the view code. So once we clicked on the view code, it is giving us the all of the available options like a Python, curl, and others also. So for example, let me go ahead and select the curl. So over here in the curl, you can see there are some of the parameters available over here. So for example, you can just may mention the key points and other details over here, the content type and everything over here. Yeah. And the below part, it is the body part, you can just mention. And once you're done with that, then you can just go ahead and you can just do this production setup. Yeah. So this is all about how we can just use this Azure OpenAI, how we can do the setup, and then how we can just play, and how we can just verify before going to the actual production. So now let's go ahead and check the next part. Like this is the Teams toolkit. So Teams toolkit is really very helpful for us. So to create any of our bots extension, and whenever we are coming to the team, so teams is not only about the communication, but it's all about the collaborations also. So it helps us to develop and create and deploy the teams apps with integrated identity also. So now we do have information about Azure OpenAI, and we have the information for this teams toolkit for Visual Studio Code. So now let's see how together how we can just create some of the powerful solutions. This is our knowledge quest bot, and this is the winner of hackathon, which is happened in last year June 2023. So it is a really very simple and useful. It is an interactive chatbot application, and which designs and allows the user to test their knowledge on any of the specific topic. Like it can be a general knowledge, and it can be anything related to technology, and it's all we are using the power of OpenAI. So we are here, you see there is one adaptive card. The adaptive card itself is saying that there should be the self select self assessment and the my stat. So in the later, I will just explain you in the demo exactly how we have built it and how exactly it works. So before that, let's go and check the architecture of that bot. Yeah. So user is saying that I want to test my knowledge on a specific topic, and user is starting the interaction with this knowledge quest teams bot, which is hosted in a teams. Then that bot is starting the interaction with the Azure OpenAI. So that's all about this prompt and completion. And over here we are using this deployment model. So prompt is nothing but, that means the user is saying, hey, I want to generate this much of multi-choice question with the correct answer option, and the reference that links on the specific topics that is selected from the user in JSON format, because JSON is a really very simple one to process all of our things. And over here, we are just going the little bit of technical with the element as a question, options, answers, and a reference link. Once Azure OpenAI get the prompt, is using this deployment ID model, and then it is just giving us the completion in again the form of the JSON. So you can see it will give us the question, then the options, correct answer, and the reference link. Yeah. So this is about all this architecture diagram for this one. And now let's go ahead and check the demo of the knowledge quiz teams bot. Yeah, so it is already hosted over here. So for example, let me go ahead and just click over here. So it is giving us the two options, welcome and learn. Learn mean that will it will give you some of the more information. So let's keep that and go with the welcome part. And once I select the welcome, then it will give us the adaptive card, and the adaptive card itself will explain about first thing it about the welcome to knowledge quest bot, what is exactly that knowledge quest bots. And it is giving us the two option. First is one to select your self assessment, you can take your self assessment, and the second one is the my stat. So for example, let's go ahead and click on the my stat. So my stats will give us the all of the statistics for the whatever the exams we have taken in the past. Yeah. So that's about the my stats. Now let's go ahead and click on this select self assessment. So it will give us the another adaptive card where we can just select any of the topic. So I will just saying that Azure, Microsoft Azure, and the number of questions by default will be the 5. You can just increase or decrease it also. Yeah. And once you click on this select self assessment, then it will generate you the 5 number of questions, and you can see over here it is mentioning the topic at the Microsoft Azure. There are multi-choice questions available over here, and then the reference link. So reference link will be related to Microsoft documentation, and the next question and the end assessment. One thing you have to note over here, we are not giving any options to come back to your previous questions. So once you are done with the next question, you cannot come back to your old questions or the previous question. It is the same like recently, for example, if any one of you have already taken the exam of the Microsoft, then it is the same functionality over there. And another thing you have to note over here, for example, if you have saying that okay, I have opted for the 5 questions and now I have to do only the 3 questions and I don't want to go for the next 2 questions, that's also fine. You can just do it over here. You can do the end assessment. So whatever the questions answers you have given over here, we will do the assessment on that only. So it will not calculate all of this your question what you have provided, but actual answers you have submitted. Yeah. So it's all about how this structure of this bot, this is the working solution what we have shown to you. So let's quickly go ahead and just submit some of the random answers, and I would like to show you at the end how it is just showing once we are done with this completion of this. So over here you can see there is a no previous button. Okay, so this is the scorecard, and scorecard is also adaptive card. It is mentioned our score is 2, so 5 out of 2 questions are correct, and then other information is provided over here. So let's go in a code and we can just see couple of things over here, as we are just building it using this Teams toolkit. So we don't have to worry about this app registration and bot service creation, because Teams toolkit is going to take care of all of that things. So over there, first you have to see that you have done the login using your admin account, and if not, then you have to, if you don't have any, then you have to create it. You can run it locally also, and you can just select any of the browsers also. Yeah. So first thing is there are some of the adaptive cards available over here. But before going to adaptive card, let me go to the YAML file and let me show you in that local.yaml file. Yeah. So over here, it will have all of the details where it is taking care of this app registration and bot service creation. Okay. Then we have some of the adaptive cards. We have some of the environments variables, and we have a config file also. So let's now go to the main file, that is our teamsbot.ts. And over here, you can see in the starting, we have imported this OpenAI. Yeah. And then later on over here, we are handling the event when the user clicks on the adaptive card action. So in the demo, might we have already seen, once you click over there, it is just giving you the welcome message and then the learn. So whatever the options you are selecting, as per that we are generating the adaptive card. We are just showing there are the cases already added over here, case for the welcome and case for the learn. So once you select on this welcome, then it will show you that welcome adaptive card. Let me quickly show you adaptive card. It's everything is in JSON format. So this is the adaptive card how it looks. Yeah. So there is in adaptive card there is a verb. So we are associating that verb with the action. So it will be easy for our code to understand what exactly the action that is taken by the end user. Yeah. So over here we are just invoking when an action is taken on any of the adaptive card, and then there is a different card for the self assessment. So over here for the self assessment, there is a different adaptive card. It will just show you all of the questions and answers and everything. Again, it is in a JSON format. So that's all about all. And then we have added some of the couple of more things where we are just not allowing users to go back, and it is just every time whenever there is a, you can see there is a case added for the next question, and we are just replacing the existing card with a new one. And in the bottom again we are doing the calculation whatever the correct answers are there. Yeah. So that's about the small introduction about this how this knowledge quest bot streams work.
All right, so that was the quick example of how we'll be able to integrate OpenAI or specifically Azure OpenAI with Microsoft Teams or maybe bot. So we just have seen that we have our application. For example, it is Microsoft Teams, in this case, Microsoft Teams bot, or even it could be your any of the chatbot, or it could be your website. So we have our own applications, and then from there we connect to OpenAI, specifically to Azure OpenAI in this case, and then we want to get the data from there. So what happens is like we do have power of LLMs, for example, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, that drives the OpenAI communication. We get the information from there, but there is another aspect that we also want to bring our own data. Why? Because we have our data in our system, and we want our users to go ahead and interact with that data. So that's the reason we want to bring in that power, by which we will have the power of LLMs as well. For example, GPT 3.5, GPT 4, to get the latest and greatest data, but at the same time, we'll be able to bring our own data as well. So if in case we want to achieve all those things, it is not directly possible. So we'll have to have some kind of an intermediate thing. And one of the option that we can probably use here is called as LangChain. So LangChain is nothing but it is just kind of a framework which will help you to develop your applications on top of this LLMs so that you can extend them. Even it will give you the flexibility by which you will be able to bring your data into the system. So whenever we talk about our data, the data could be in Microsoft SharePoint, it could be in any of the document, it could be on any of the public website URL, or even that could be in a PDF formats or databases. It could be anywhere. So we want to go ahead, consume that data in our applications, and then we will use LangChain. So let's see like how we can do that. But before that, I just want to spend 5 minutes onto the topic of semantic search. All right. So what happens is like, let's say I did one search in the internet on Microsoft Bing or maybe Google, wherever you want to do that. So I just search for like what gear should I use going uphill. So in this case, my intention is to drive a car. I want to know whenever I'm driving a car, which gear I should use while I am going uphill. And here you can see that all of the results that I have from the Microsoft Bing. Secondly, I'm using the word gear, but in the other context, like what gear should I wear when I'm visiting any of the city? For example, Bangalore in this case. So let's say, for example, you're visiting any of the city and you want to be sure of the weather, you go ahead and search for that. But if you see the common thing here, I'm using gear in in the same sentence or maybe in different sentence, but the context is pretty much different. When I'm thinking of which gear should I use going uphill, I am referring to the mechanics, or I'm referring to the driving a car. When I'm talking about what gear should I wear in any of the city, I'm talking about the location, right? But if you still see here, the word gear is pretty much common, but still the search engine, it is able to go ahead, make sense out of it, and it is returning me the result which are very much relevant to that particular keyword. And this is happening just because of the semantic search. And how this thing happens, like let's say for example we will take this example of gear ahead. So it creates something called as an embedding. So embedding is nothing but the numerical representation of your text. So let's say for the word of gear, we have defined our own properties, like whether it is related to mechanical devices, or whether it is related to the clothing accessories or location specific, whether it is related to weather, or whether it can be one on body. So those are our few properties that we have defined around this word gear, and onto which we are trying to go ahead and create the numeric representation of the text. So here, based on to which property it well matches to, we can give the ranking of 0 to 100. So let's say for example, when the context is going uphill, that means I'm more of talking about the mechanical devices or cars or utility equipment. So the rank is pretty much higher here. When I'm talking in the context of wearing the gear onto the body when we are visiting any of the city, then obviously we are talking about the clothing accessories. It is location specific and it is related to whether it can be worn on body. So in those cases, value is pretty much higher. So all these numbers, they can be grouped together and they are called as a vector. So vector is nothing but the sequence of number, and based on these vectorizations, the search engines or the semantic search is able to get the result which is very much closer to that matching result. So now that, let's say for example, as an exercise, if I ask you like how to drive AMT, that means automatic manual transmission, again which is related to car. So maybe you can give any of the number for these properties, our custom properties, but definitely you can see that those numbers will be very much closer to the context of going uphill. And then whenever I will search in the search box for driving the AMT, obviously the results which are very much closer to going uphill or to the automobile industry, they will be lined up on the top, right? So this is how the embedding work, and we are going to use the same concept of embedding in our LangChain applications and to bring our own data into the application and surface that at the top. All right, so this is based on as per the LangChain documentation. So what happens is like we do have our information in the organization in the form of maybe URLs. Those could be public or private URLs. We do have information in PDFs, databases, in any kind of documents. So what as a first step that we need to do is we need to identify all those documents, and then we need to get them uploaded. Once we have them into the system, uh, there will be a split or chunks that gets created out of it. So that means there will be vectorization happening on top of it, and the information is extracted, or at least the chunks are created, and then each of the chunk is given the vector number, and then that vector number is stored into a storage called as a vector store. So now that we have our documents which are splitted into multiple chunks of data, each of that has got a vectorization, and that vector number is stored into the vector store. Whenever the option comes that the user are querying our database, or user is sending their request to get the data, obviously we are using the semantic index to go ahead and get the matching indexes here. And then you can see here that we are getting all those relevant splits. So we make those splits together, and then we give those to the LLM, and then LLM help us to form the answer. So now that if you closely have a look at here, we are using at least two models here. First one is the embedding models. The embedding model will help you to go ahead and create the embeddings or vectorization out of it. So let's say, for example, if I again go back to the models that I have got, or maybe deployments that we have got, we do have two deployments here. First one is the text embedding, which is created with ADA. Second one is GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is our LLM. So the splits and the vectorization, this is being done by the ADA model, which is very much well known for the embeddings. And then once we get the relevant splits, the information is splitted into those multiple chunks or multiple splits. We want to create or generate a new content out of it. And for that purpose, we go ahead and use the LLM, which is GPT 3.5, or maybe even you can use GPT 4 if in case you are interested to generate any images or any more stronger content there. And then we just simply return this information to our users. So this is the general kind of an flow, how this happens. Okay, so with that, let's get into one demo. So I have a very simple demo here. So obviously we are looking out for our own information. So I do have my own website, which is at nanddeepnachanblogs.com. And in the about page of this particular website, I do have information about myself, like who am I, from where I belong to, what kind of an hobbies I have got, what kind of an work I do. So all that information is here. So this is kind of an external data to us now, and we want to bring in this data to our application so that we'll be able to surface this information when user searches for any keywords or any kind of anything. So let me just show you the demo first, and then I can get to the code. So I will just start with hello. This is my bot, which will help me to get the information from my website. So now that I just have done the hi, hello, greeting kind of a thing with my bot, now that I will go ahead and ask like who is Nanddeep. Okay, so now that the splitting has been done, the vectorization has been created, and you can see that it was able to regenerate the entire context with the help of LLMs. Okay, so all this information is coming from my web page. Okay, so Miss obviously LLM doesn't know who I am. I'm not that famous personality. So obviously I'm filling out that gap by using something called as a LangChain, so that I can fill in this information so that it can be able to or at least we are able to bring in our own data into this system. So I will just say like, is he married? And here you can see that even I'm not carrying my name here. So based on the conversation history, even it is able to identify he, that means Nandadeep, and then it can go to my blog and try to get that information. And here you can see that it is able to get the information. So I will just say like, is he from Finland? Okay. All right, and let's see like whether it is able to answer that. So obviously again it is it will go into my website and it will give us the result like there is no indication that he's from Finland. He mentions he's from Pune. Okay, so now that if you see here, this is not the exact wording that I have on my website, because I never have mentioned about I'm not from this country, or I'm not from this country. I just I mentioned that I'm from Pune. Okay, so that's the reason, but still it is going ahead with those chunks, regenerating the content using the power of generative AI, which is with LLMs like GPT 3.5 or GPT-4, and it is able to regenerate the entire content and get the information here. Okay, so this is the quick demo. Now that let's get into the code and let's have a look at the code. Okay, so this is again the code which is developed using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, which is a free extension that you can use. Smita has already explained about the significance of having the local YAML file and everything. I will simply focus onto this code part. So here you can see that I'm using the npm package called as OpenAI as well as the LangChain. So what happens now is that we do have this text splitter which help us to split the document, for example my website page in this case, into the chunks so that it can do the embedding and the vector storage. So now that I'm going ahead and creating my model so that I can use that when I'm going to generate the content using LLMs. The next thing here is that uh, firstly, it will go ahead when any of the message arrives, it will go ahead and load the data into the system, and it will create a chunks out of it. Okay, so all those chunks. This the second thing is that it will now go ahead, create the embedding and store those splits into the vector database. There are various options available in LangChain where you can store all those splits, but just to be very much simple, I'm just keeping that into the memory. But again, you can store those into your databases so that it can act faster and you don't need to create those splits, vector embedding, and vector searches every time. The next thing is like whenever the search query comes through, I want to go ahead and retrieve those splits from the storage, and then that's it. Our model is entirely ready. So what happens now is that whenever user will go ahead and ask any of the question, all those will be returned to our bot from this step number 3, which is retrieving all of the splits from the storage. So let's say for example when I ask like is he from Finland, so in that case it tried to get the information from all of the chunks where I have the location mentioned onto my website. It brought together all those chunks. It could be 2 or 3 chunks. We are not very much sure on that. But once it gets all those chunks, in the step number 4, it has retrieved all those things into a single thing together under the umbrella of LLM, which is right now I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo in this case, and then it is chaining all those responses. Once it does that, that means we do have a new text generated out of those chunks based on the vectors of which are representing that particular search query from the user. So we get that and we simply return that back to the user, and this is the kind of a response that we get back. Okay, so the thing here is pretty much simple. We have our information, we split that information, we create a vector out of it, we store those vectors somewhere, and whenever the query comes in, we look for the matching vectors, We use the power of LLMs to generate the content out of it, and we give it simply back to the user as our response. Okay, so that was the quick things about how we'll be able to go ahead and bring our own data to the TeamSpot as well using the power of LangChain. LangChain is just one option, but again, you can use in any of the other platforms or any of the other frameworks which are available in the market to do that, right? But the intention here was just to show like how you will be able to bring your own data into the TeamSpot as well. So that's all from our side. These are few of the resources. For example, if you want to learn more about LangChain, again, how the LangChain works over the Q&A and chat over documents. And for example, if you're interested to know more about Teams Toolkit, how you can install, how you can create a projects out of Teams Toolkit, go ahead, read out this documentation. And if you are interested to explore the code samples that we just have shown, then these are the two links wherein you will be able to see the code sample. If you are very much interested to look into the code, maybe extend it further, these are the two links that you can probably note it down. And with that, thank you very much for having us. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And back to you, Mati. I guess we are on time.